Dun, 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 dun. Kilted balls.
Boss.
So
Awesome.
I'm wondering if I should give like a hand motion when I'm about to go into the tagline, so then you're like, oh, he's about to go.
After 200 episodes, I don't know why you'd start now.
We're only at like 190, not counting interviews and other fun things like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a sponsor that wants us to have it perfect, then we can do that.
That's true. Well, maybe the average Joes like want that to happen. Oh,
Exactly.
yeah, right.
Exactly.
Nice.
I couldn't remember if I'd worn this on the podcast yet or not.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Either way, I love it, and I love you, listeners. Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back to another episode of the Kilted Balls podcast. We've missed you. You get to see this. So I know last time you missed this,
You did miss out.
and now you get to see it. So that's kind of nice for me. So it's good. It's good.
And I keep on seeing my face come up on my YouTube, like it's just me.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I was gonna do shorts all week based on what we talked about on my journal. Never did any, and then today,
I was excited to watch them.
Today I was like, ooh, I'm gonna do a mini for like every platform I'm on because it's such an important message, and I didn't do any either. So I'm definitely failing at that aspect. But
oh man,
here's what I wanted to like hit on, and this is what my short was going to be about. And maybe I'll still do the short, right? But I was out today, like with flyers, because as listeners know, I'm running for election, and so the new challenge, right? Like people are like, "Why are you doing this?" And I'm like, "Cause it's hard to explain to people, but I like challenges and I like serving people. It's kind of who I am.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to like describe that, but people are like, you are crazy. I'm like, you got to do stuff. But anyway, one of the things that's really interesting about this is I have to go like knock on doors and I have to talk to people and I have to hand out flyers. Like that's part of the gig. Everybody tells me that it's really important and I need to get out there and be seen. And a lot of the voters know me, but a lot of them don't. Like today I talked to a lot of people who didn't know me. But, as you know, and some of our listeners know, but not many, that is something that I do not like doing. Like growing up when you had to do fundraisers and they'd be like, go sell candy bars, go up and down the street and knock on doors. Like I hated doing that, right? I hate running donation drives, which is also part of one of my gigs. And I hate doing it, and I'm horrible about doing it because I don't like doing it. Right? I don't like asking people for money. It's not organic, and I like things to be natural and just flow. And so it bothers me, and it's one of those things where that we preach, like you have to do the hard things in order to grow.
Yes.
Right? And so for me, going and knocking on doors and saying, hi, how you doing tonight? Is a hard thing for me, and you've got to go out and do the hard things to grow. But it's funny because like even tonight, like I'm doing it, and my wife is like, are you really going to knock on that door right now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to knock on that door because we were out for a walk. And I go and hopefully talk to them. I go, I'm really excited to talk to them. And she's like, really? You hate doing this? I'm like, I for sure hate doing this. Like,
yeah.
She's like, you won't even call to order a pizza. And I'm like, no. Like if it was a difference between me calling Domino's and ordering a pizza or just starving, like 9 times out of 10 I would just starve. I'd be like, I don't need the pizza that much. I'll just go have a saltine cracker, right?
That's funny.
But so, I'm having to do that, which I think is important that, again, you stretch yourself and you kind of attack your comfort levels.
Yeah.
And basically we preach that, and this is like a really tangible example of doing the hard stuff. And, my kids get to see me going out and doing that and saying, and for me, it's just the same as I've always done. It's like going and talking and saying hi to people. So it's not like it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just the actual disturbing somebody while they're sitting there watching TV or picking their nose.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to their home. They didn't invite you, and
Yeah, yeah.
trying to say, hey. So how did it go?
So, Cal and I went today in the afternoon, and it was like you would expect. If there was an excuse to not knock on a door, we didn't knock on the
Mm-hmm.
door. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
like Cal would be like, I don't think those people want to be disturbed. I'm like, you know what? You're right, buddy. They don't want to be disturbed. Let's go. I'm like, oh, look, they don't use the front door. It looks like they use the garage door. Yeah, we'll just leave a flyer in the mailbox, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if we had a
That's hilarious.
reason, we took the reason. So, I probably only got to talk to 2 or 3 people. One lady, like, I put it in her doorknob, walked away, and she came out. And so,
Mm-hmm.
Cal and I turned around and talked to her and said hi, right? And it's not bad. Like, the ones this afternoon was really just me saying, hey, I'm so and so. I'm running for county commissioner. I put all my information on this flyer so that you can get
Mm-hmm.
a hold of me because I think it's really important that you talk to me and find out who I am. So,
Mm-hmm.
shoot me an email, check me out on Facebook. But I'm always in the area. I'm in the neighborhood. Just wanted to say hi, right? And then I
Yeah.
kind of kept moving, which is, I think, one of the big selling points. Like, I'm like, hey, you always see me. I'm always walking up and down your street.
Yeah.
Now I'm just being intentional and saying hi because I'm running for election. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't
That's
bad.
awesome.
And then I had one tonight, the one that I stopped at tonight on the way back from the farmer's market. Like, she came out and she like wanted to talk, and so we talked for a long time. And she
Mm-hmm.
hit lots of issues that are like probably things I don't necessarily agree with wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked to her about it, and we chit
Mm-hmm.
chatted, and you know, I did my
Well,
normal verbal dance.
yeah, I imagine she was probably bringing up a lot of stuff too that's not necessarily county commissioner
No,
realm.
it was almost all school stuff, right? Because
Okay.
everybody knows that I'm at the school, and so she's
Okay.
like, I'm so glad your superintendent left, and I'm like, oh well, she was
I was
kind of
gonna
young,
ask
and
if you say that, like if you're like, oh, I'm a teacher at the
well, it
school.
depends
Like,
if it comes up. So like in this case, it
okay,
came up, right? I
okay.
forget why, but she said something. Oh, she's like, why are you running for this? And I'm like, well, I'm a teacher and I have a deep seated need for people to understand things and to
Hmm.
be understood. And I'm like, and nobody understands what county commissioners do or even who they are. And I'm like, and as an educator, I find that really problematic. I go, that you don't know what we're doing or what we're pushing or, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like knowing about whether we're going to install solar farms, right? Like,
Hmm.
people should know about that stuff. And she's like, where do you stand on that? And I'm like the big industrial solar farms? And she's like, yeah, like, where's your spot on that? And I'm like, well, I go, I'm of 2 frames of mind. I go, I think if I'm a farmer, it's my land. I should be allowed to do what I want with my land. And you shouldn't be telling me yes or no to solar panels or wind turbines or whatever.
Hmm.
I go, on the other hand, what I'm doing will affect other people. I go, so if I'm putting up solar panels instead of corn, I go, that's my choice. It's my land. I go, I don't think you should be like, no, I think corn is prettier. You don't get to choose what I plant on my land. I
Hmm.
go, but I go, if I'm installing turbines and I've got to bring the big rigs in and destroy that soil, I go, it's my land, but should I be allowed to make it so that my turbine can fall and block the road? Right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of 2 minds of that. Right? And she was like, yes, exactly, exactly. I'm like, right. So, but then she said, like, yeah, at the school, like, I'm so glad the superintendent left.
Okay.
I can't believe they're dealing with genders and pronouns and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah. It's like a whole thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
you
That'd be
know?
a good way to word it.
Yeah. And we talked for like 10 minutes about it and stuff. And so,
That's awesome.
and now
Actually,
she's
it's
at
funny
your
that you.
school district.
Yes, I remember you saying that. Um, it's funny because it may be someone you know. Let me see. It's someone from I need to save this. but it's someone from DeWitt today in one of my orders. I was sending it out, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say, like, check out buyers running for county commission,
Oh.
and I wrote that on their packing slip.
Oh, nice. But they're
So it
from
may be
DeWitt,
someone.
Michigan?
They're from DeWitt. Oh, they've only ordered once. Yep, they're from DeWitt, Michigan. I saw that, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna give Brian a little plug.
Thanks. I appreciate the plug.
I don't know if I want to say their name.
No,
but.
no. That's probably not good for a podcast, but that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So last time we were chatting about your property. Like the title of the episode was Your Property Woes, right? And I saw my mom for the first time in a long time, and my sister was there. And we're sitting there, and we were talking about family property. So the family owns a whole bunch of property in New Orleans that is like owned by like descendants of descendants and stuff. And so we were like chit-chatting about that and like the importance of knowing what you own and who owns what. And I thought, oh my gosh, I go, let me tell you about like Jerem, blah, blah, blah. And what it boiled down to, and you know how my sister and I get, right? Like we start just going off and riffing on things. And Amy was chiming in. And my mom was like, you guys are so mean. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure everything we're saying is a compliment. You just don't think it's a compliment. Because we're talking about the fact that, you know, you weren't sure about the property or this and that. And I'm like, and you probably heard the episode, like, Kilted was like, hey, this is a great learning experience, blah, blah, blah. And my sister starts laughing. She goes, that is so him. It's so him to be like, oh, yeah, I just learned this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's how he is. And she's like, right? Like, if he lost a leg, he'd be like, well, I got my hands. I'm doing good, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, right. Like, if he got his foot, he'd be like, well, good. Now I don't have to buy 2 shoes. And I'm like, I'd be like, man, I probably get to wear a cool little boot instead of my shoes. You know, and we're just all riffing on that kind of a concept. And my mom's like, you guys are so mean. You're so mean. And I'm like, I'm pretty confident Kilted would take these all as compliments.
Exactly.
Like, he agrees with that, and that's how he is.
Like, I might be a little too close to Pollyanna, but yeah, I agree.
Right? So it was really funny, and we talked about like so much stuff.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, I go, that's what real, true positivity is, right? And it's funny because I just heard a song the other day while I was mowing the lawn. It's like the second time I've come up, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know the song. So, listeners, if you know the song, give us a tweet or a comment and let us know what the song is. But basically, it's this whole song, and then this guy starts talking. And it's like an older speech, but he's like, you know, if you lose your leg, be thankful you've still got the other leg. And if you lose both your legs, be thankful you've got your arms. And if you lose both your arms, be thankful that you're still alive. And like the whole song kept doing that. Like he kept talking that way. And I was like, it was like a preacher almost. I was like, yeah, I love that. So
that's awesome. I'm not familiar with that song.
I'll have to see if I can figure out what the heck it was, or next time I hear it, like look at my phone and tell you, because it's pretty much your anthem. And when my sis started talking, it was seriously like that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she knows that song, because it was had that same feeling. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of tying this back into like the election and stuff. Like a few people were like, yeah, are you kind of like worked up? I'm like, listen, this is a complete win-win for me. Like, if I don't get elected, it means I don't have a shit ton of extra work to do.
Exactly.
I go, I'm not going to be sad about that. I go, and if I win, I'm going to be excited that I get to do the work. I go, so, which I think that's the important thing, listeners, is that you really learn to make every situation a win-win. Like, you know, they always say, find the silver lining, and I don't know if you can find silver linings, but you gotta make it a win-win, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was a lot, especially from last week, a lot that happened. And I guess I'll share on here because we were talking about the property.
Yes.
And we've talked about the business. So to fill listeners in, if you've been following along on your note cards, I did get an offer for the sheets,
Oh,
which included the building. It's
okay.
someone I knew. The word was just out, so it was it was lower than in my mind I would even consider, but I was considering it. So I was like, well, blah blah blah, and I was on Realtor. I found this crazy property. So then this is what I told my friend, because it wasn't a typical house, and he was kind of laughing. He's like, well, what's your deal with this? Like, he's like, you're staying at the warehouse, you're looking at this, and I was like, okay, we got 4,700 square feet, acre of land, $300,000. I was like, that's why I'm looking at it. But it was actually two buildings, so it was 2,700 and 1,500, whatever it broke down to, whatever.
Right.
But and it was old church, and then like their little side building, and then it had a graveyard attached to it as well. So we're like, this could be fun. Like the pictures, it said it was built in '89, so and it was zoned residential. So the side building was built in '89. The church was built in the so, but it was really cool. It was fun just to go look at. It was the lady's grandmother, and she had the whole story and had pictures and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool to hear that. But that, like, she just started preaching in the yard, and then they got enough money, like passing the plate around. They built this, they built that, they built an addition onto the church, and then they built that other little building. And I guess think of a female Baptist preacher in the 70s.
Yeah, I
in
can't
the South.
imagine that.
So yeah, she was doing that, and I guess her sister lived a couple doors down, and she'd always try to shoot at her, like when they were first outside and stuff like that. So it sounded pretty crazy, but ultimately it's something that we're gonna pass on. And I declined the offer. We're super happy here. We love it here, and it was just lower than what I was thinking. So, but yeah, it was nice to kind of in the last week go through all those emotions.
Yeah, super good. Your video right now is about 1 to 2 seconds off, so I'm not sure where your internet is. So it's bad subtitles.
I don't have anything running, so who knows?
Your audio is really good. Your audio is really good.
Okay, perfect. But I have new headphones, so I bought new headphones.
New headphones?
My other ones kept shorting out.
You don't look like the average Joe
I did.
to me.
I did trim up my hair. Oh, look at this. So I love Goodwill. Have I said that before?
You might have mentioned it.
So I did get this Average Joe's at a Goodwill in Ohio when I was looking at the Eclipse. I happened to see it. I mean, $3 shirt. It's awesome. But I found these recently. We were just at the Goodwill. 49 cents from the Renaissance Festival. Like, there's this one, and then there's more like a wine glass one. They were 49 cents each. That other one's purple. That one's Gina's.
How could you
And I was like, I love the Renaissance Festival. Like, yeah, why would you take this there? Unless it was, like, something you did with, like, if you were in a relationship and then, something happened, then maybe you take your stuff.
Maybe somebody died, and so they're just getting rid of it all.
Yeah.
Or rentals. Like, that'll happen at rentals. Like, I'll clean them out.
Okay.
You just have people go.
But they paid at least $30 for this. This is easily $30 at the Renaissance Festival.
Well, and it's probably honestly worth $8.
It may be worth $8.
Yeah.
But it was definitely worth 49 cents.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's what it's worth now is 49 cents because that's what someone paid for it. So.
Yep.
So that was the first thing, was that your thing was delayed. The second thing was that's for sure a southerly thing that people would shoot at each other. When I used to go down to visit my relatives in Georgia, like, we'd be greeted with shotguns. Like, that was the thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when you're sneaking on the land, though.
No, I wasn't sneaking. Not only was I not sneaking, I had called in advance. I was going to be there. Oh, that's it's just awesome. You. I wasn't sure. I'm like, I called you, Grandma. I told you I would be here. Well, you never know. You never know. Okay, I guess you don't.
That is awesome. I do remember hearing that story.
So that's the thing. And then
That sounds like a good time.
your property there made me think. I was going for a walk the other day, and I'd had this talk with my girls. I think it was like on Father's Day, but we're walking through the cemetery, and it's my wife and I, and we're just like walking through, right? Because it's just a good place to walk, right? You've been here, and so we're just kind of like walking through it, and she's like, "What was the deal with this?" I was like, I literally don't know what you're talking about. and she's like, you were talking to the girls about the cemetery here. And I was like, oh, I kind of remember that. And she's like, so what was the deal? And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm getting where you're going. Like, what don't you understand? She goes, well, you said people that live in DeWitt can't be buried here. And I'm like, right? And she's like, so what was the deal with that? Like, why is it that people who live in DeWitt can't be buried here? And I'm like looking at her, and I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, because it's illegal. They really frown on you burying people when they're living. I'm like, that's
I've tried. It's really difficult to do.
And she like looks at me, and she goes, I didn't just walk into that. She's like, I set up the whole joke. I'm like, you set up the whole joke. I'm like, I literally didn't have to do anything.
That is awesome.
So yeah, living people you can't bury at the cemetery.
You cannot bury living people. I'm gonna write that one down, just in case if I forget.
Oh my god.
So it's funny that so you're talking about Father's Day. We did not celebrate Father's Day here. Tristan was gone and Morgan was gone.
Okay.
So we're like, let's plan it for a different day where we all can be together. So we did that this Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Which was super fun. And we went to iFly, which was amazing. It was super awesome. It's the tube with the big fan, and you climb inside and you skydive.
And you skydive, except you're not like, 1,000 feet, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet up.
Nope. You're like 4 feet off the ground.
So it's not
it was
scary,
it was super
right?
fun. I mean, I don't think I'd be scared anyways, honestly.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of along, that same mentality. Like if something went wrong, like yes, if you're like coming to the ground super fast and your chute didn't go, like okay. But even then, you're like, there's nothing you can do. Just like try to land right so all your internal organs don't splash the wrong way. But no, it was super fun, and right at the last second, Morgie didn't do it, which is kind of sad. But
well, he's still young yet.
Yeah, he was all dressed. He had the flight outfit on. He had the helmet on, his goggles, and then it was us, and then like this other guy who was like doing more fancy stuff, and they let him go first, and he's like doing flips and stuff in there. And Morgan's like, nope. So then he went out. But yeah, we had a great time. It's awesome.
So your video is distorted again, and I'm loving it because it still hasn't caught up with your voice.
Oh man! Well, I'm glad my audio is good because earlier your audio is breaking up here and there, but I'm hoping that's just on my end, which I imagine it is.
I hope so. It is the night for technical difficulties, listeners. We had a little trouble getting started, but we got it there. We got it going. So you said you decided not to sell the business. Did you do a counteroffer, or were you just like, no, never mind?
I kind of did a counteroffer. So, yeah, I kind of did a counteroffer, but they were like, nope. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, okay, cool beans.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Because you've got it all done to live in, so...
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we were talking about, too. Like, we had planned on being here at least a couple years, because then we'd have to decide if we're buying out my business partner or if we're selling everything.
Right.
So then, we have that time to decide. And the church was cool because that's, I like to think in ands, not ors. And talking with Jason a little bit, he's like, "Oh, don't forget this." He's like, "It doesn't have to be," but I'm like, "Well, really, that does. Like, if we have to move, like, if we loved it, I might have taken that lower offer."
Yeah.
But I mean, there was two. It would have been doing basically what we did here over again and at a bigger scale.
Yeah, and that's no fun. You don't want to do those twice in a row.
Yeah. Well, that one I don't think we would have been able to do ourselves either. That would have been like you have to hire professional people. Because it's like, where do you knock the hole in this wall to make a door here? Like, I mean, the building solid. It was all brick. Both of them were just brick buildings, like just super solid.
Right.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun day. I mean, we went out there and wandered around and looked around and.
So what I hear you saying is I need to start looking for schools and stuff for us.
I know that's where it ultimately stemmed from. Like, obviously we've looked at some schools before, and then seeing a church, like, hey, it's kind of the same idea. You're gonna get a lot of square feet for a lower price. But yeah, we might almost be ready for the commune.
Nice. That'll be a good time.
As long as we do it somewhere closer down here where it's warm. We don't want to be too cold.
As I say, your water out of the tap is too warm.
Exactly.
Already too warm. Well, I think this seems like a good spot to wrap it up. Listeners, please reach out. Give us some comments. Give us some questions. The next journal is getting close. Worked on it again.
Awesome.
I want to say it's about 60-65%. The Kilted Balls book is not advanced that I've seen.
Yeah. I wrote it was maybe a couple months ago, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
You remember.
I did write a bit in there one day. I just got a hair up my butt.
Nice. Now you got to do that like every day. So
I know.
Along with journaling, you journal in that too. And just we'll edit it later.
Exactly.
Maybe. All right, listeners, I'm sure next week we're going to have even more fun stuff. And then we have a big trip coming up, you and I, in 2 weeks, right? Going to the mountains.
Yeah, I can't remember if you said that you were doing that yet or not on here. It's going to be super awesome.
We're going to the mountains in Washington, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, listeners, we'll have a lot of stuff for you about that. Maybe we'll even do some vids from it. We'll see. But anyway, I hope you guys all have a great week. So,
yes, have an awesome week.
Heck yeah, and this is Ballbusters signing off.
Kill the Dragon Jerry, love you all.